Today we'll be talking about birds and how to attract them to your garden. Thank you to Tina and Bruce at Redwood City Park and Rec and Community Services and the Veterans Memorial Senior Center for inviting us to participate in your community Zoom day. This is number 2 out of a series of 3. And we will give a brief presentation and then entertain some questions and answers afterwards. Take it away, Doug.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll bring up our screen here.
There we go. And I realize, are you guys seeing the screen right now?
No.
Pardon?
I see both of you guys. Are you sharing your screen?
Okay, no, I've got to go back. I'm sorry. I thought I had set it up for screen share. Let me go from the beginning back here, just a moment. I got to get to my Zoom controls here. Rats. It helps if you make the Zoom bigger so that I can share my screen. And we will go here. Okay.
Perfect.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay.
And what I'd like to talk mostly about today is how to attract birds to your garden. And we'll talk a little bit more about birding in general, but I want to talk about, if you can go back one.
Okay.
No, backwards.
Backwards up. No, I was going backwards. Dang it. Sorry. Whoa, hold on.
All right. It's just going forwards.
There.
There we go. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
No problem.
My apologies.
Technically, what does the bird want? And it's a variety of food that you can attract them with, both with what your yard provides and what you provide in feeders. Now, other than this morning, thank goodness we had water this morning. Birds really want a water source. And it is something we'll talk about, the importance of having a water source that they can use and cleaning them. And also about shelter, having trees and bushes in your yard so that they can have a place to hide when predators come and just to rest. And what does the bird need in your garden? If you attract birds to your garden, you'll attract cats. And the only one you really have control over is your cat. And they will want to get the birds if they can. Cats are one of the leading causes of bird deaths. I have a neighbor cat, which I can't really control, that likes to sit right under my feeders. Also, you want to minimize what you use in chemicals in your yard. The birds will take care of a lot of your bugs, so it is important. Also, to be careful about birds running into your windows, which is another one of the most common bird deaths. And counterintuitively, a lot of times bird feeders that are closer to your windows do a lot better because they don't get a running start if they happen to see their reflection in your windows. And there are also appliques you can buy to put on your windows so that they don't see their reflection as well. I want to show these birds, dark-eyed junco on the left and the black phoebe on the right. And I say most common in your garden and also if you're out walking, because these birds apparently tolerate humans getting close much more than other birds. Most birds, if they see you coming, they'll be gone before you even see them. So these are birds that you'll see most often. And the black phoebe is especially not afraid of us, but it's what's called a flycatcher. And that's what it does, is eat bugs. So you do want them in your garden. We also have 2 doves in the area on the peninsula, a mourning dove on the left and the Eurasian collared dove on the right. And these pictures are a little deceiving because the Eurasian collared dove on the right is actually quite a bit bigger and a lot more aggressive. They have been found to push out mourning doves if they can. They are from Eurasia and they made their way to the Bahamas in the 1980s. And since then, they've gone throughout the entire United States. And they're actually a very good looking bird, but I like having both of them around. It is important, if you want the biggest diversity of birds in your yard, to have different kinds of feeders and maybe even at different levels. And this is a picture of a cage feeder for suet and a downy woodpecker. And a lot of the birds, even
Birding.
Birding.
a lot of the birds during the summer will even use this suet cake because it gives them a lot more energy, but especially during nesting season. I have a couple references on this slide, the feederwatch.org and Cornell's Project Feeder Watch, that if you go on these links, you can find everything you want to know about different kinds of feeders. It also has the store that we advertise. We get no money from them, but Birders Garden in San Carlos. It's kind of obscured right now. Are those yours on there, Davina? Yes. Well, if you can go back. And that's a store, one of the few stores on the peninsula that's mostly about birds. And we have a friend there, Bonnie, that if you want to know about starting with feeders, you can go ask her. Now on the right, this should be a live cam from the state of Alabama. And we'll see some, I don't know my eastern birds so well, but these show the variety of different kinds of feeders that you can have in your garden. Normally you wouldn't have this many. But most common, especially for small birds, are called tube feeders. And you see one of those on the left-hand side. And there's a chickadee right there. And the birds will go to these for different kinds of seeds. Hopper feeders usually have seeds in them also, and they look like little houses. They have a roof on them and generally a tray at the bottom. You see one there that looks like a house. You also have platform or tray feeders, and you see one right in the middle. And those are open feeders. And just want to mention one thing, a lot of these feeders have problems with our other garden resident squirrels. And so a lot of these things have rain guards on the top, and they're also trying to prevent squirrels from getting in them. And I have one that I bought that's called a Squirrel Buster, a tube feeder that works pretty well. When the squirrel's weight goes on it, it closes off all the openings. But you'll find out about squirrels if you start using feeders. You also have suet feeders, and generally those are in those cages like we saw in that other slide. But on this, you see there's a log on the left side that somebody made a homemade suet feeder. Went to a lot of trouble to stuff suet inside of that. And finally, the nectar feeders, which are used for hummingbirds. And remember, you don't have to necessarily put red food coloring in them. And there's a lot of different types of food that you can provide. Probably the most common are black oil sunflower seeds that you see in the upper middle. And those are very popular with birds. They're easy for them to open. And the only downside is that there's a lot of waste on the ground from these. And you see on the left, the insides of sunflower seeds. And those don't leave the waste, but they come more expensive. You also have things like Niger seed and Milo that are pictured. You have suet cakes, like was shown in the cage. Some people put out fruit. They try to get Oreos with them. And the bottom middle are mealworms that I've never tried using those, but some people might want to try that. And this is a chart. I know you can't read this real fast about different kind of feeders, what kind of feed goes in them, and what kind of birds that it attracts. Now, Davina's going to talk for a little while about native plants.
Thank you, Doug. So native plants are those that have adapted to California's dry soils. They've evolved over years to succeed and to be able to provide for our bird friends. A great resource if you want to learn more about native plants, on the National Audubon Society website, the URL that I've provided here, you can simply enter your zip code and you'll get like the top 25 best plants for your area, and even places where you may be able to find them locally. It's a great resource. There's a lot of information on the website about how to attract birds to your garden there also. The California Native Plant Society is dedicated to conserving native plants and in their habitat. And they have a tremendous resource on their website. You can search on their website. They have there's a wealth of information there. And like the Audubon Society, they have local chapters that you can join as well. And in the springtime, if you want to be inspired, look for their garden tours. They're quite fun to go out and look at what other people have done creatively in their gardens and learn more about our native plants. Cal Flora is another resource of information, but it focuses mostly, well, on California wild plants. And they have a database of over 8,000 species in their database. So there are a lot of resources right at our fingertips that we can find out more. We'll do, pardon the pun, a deep dig into native plants in our next series. Food types that can be provided by these plants in your yard. Everything from, let me smooth my control. Oh, there I go. Oh, rats. Let me go back here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Everything from seeds to nectar, fruits, berries, and of course, bugs. The chestnut-back chickadee you see here is the most voracious insect eater that we can attract to our gardens. So you want to find stuff to bring them in. Now I have here examples of different ways you can use water to attract birds to your garden. You can use something as simple as a terracotta saucer that's here on the far right. A shallow saucer set on a railing works quite well. You can find ceramic decorative bird baths in almost every color to coordinate with your garden scheme, if you so like. And this other saucer here that you see on the bottom center photo features a solar fountain, which can be purchased, and with different adapters, you can make it splash up higher or lower, or just have it gurgle over the top. The truth of the matter is, the noisier the fountain, the more the birds hear the water sounds, the more likely they'll come to your garden. Sorry about that, folks. But most importantly, they need lots of very clean, fresh food and water. Your feeders should be cleaned once or twice a week, up to every 2 weeks, with hot water and soap, and a 1 to 9, actually that should be 1 part bleach to 9 part water solution. Hummingbird feeders you want to clean on a regular basis, but you can't use soap in them. And then in your baths, again, a vinegar water solution this time works to keep them clean, and you should be refilling them every other day. Boy, I cannot see without my glasses. Doug, go ahead.
Oh, back one,
Back, man. Yeah,
right there. Oh, thank you, Davina.
you're welcome.
If you should happen upon injured birds, there's a phone number, and it'd be good to keep this number about the Peninsula Humane Society. And they call themselves Wildlife Rescue because they will come and rescue animals that you call in about. There's also a website that we put here, Animal Help Now. And this is helpful, especially if you're traveling. You can, they can find where you are and what's the closest place that can help you with it. Now, it's not likely that you'll find sick birds in your garden, but if you do, it can indicate a problem and maybe necessitating taking your feeders down. And that's something you can call in about. There's also a website there about West Nile virus, and that's especially, they want to know about if you see anywhere dead crows or ravens, which it especially affects. There's also been things in the news.
I'm so sorry, Doug.
That's all right. Doesn't like
Man.
backing up. Right there.
Yeah. Shh. Oh, I don't understand why this is so sensitive today. Crazy. Sorry.
That's all
I'm
right.
going to throw my mouse out.
That's right. Feed it to the bird, right?
Yeah, really. I'll go feed it to the crows.
You have heard in the news about avian flu, and that's not something that has come to the Bay Area yet. But if you have a sick bird or sick birds in your garden, it is something to report. We said at the beginning that you want to make your garden as safe as possible for birds, but there is part of the natural process that you can't do much about, and that's hawks, avian predators. And the one on the left is shown, is kind of, I don't know why he's so puffed up, but it's showing a Cooper's hawk, which is most likely to find in your gardens because it's aerodynamically designed to fly through tight spaces. And so this will also be attracted to your garden along with cats if you attract birds. And normally, if the birds have a place to take shelter in, like trees and bushes, they can escape. There's also other types of hawks around, the most common red-tailed hawk, and the one shown on the right, the red-shouldered hawk. So that is just something to be aware of, that if you attract wildlife to your garden, you're going to attract even the predators. Now, I want to talk for a minute about community or citizen science. A lot of people don't know that they can participate in science through different websites. And the most common one for birds is from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology called eBird. And that is something that, and I do that every time that I go birding, I input what I see and how many and where into the database. But if you like making lists of things, it's also a lot of fun. But there's millions of reports that go in every day onto eBird. And this is something that they actually use in scientific studies as far as trends and where birds, what's happening to birds. We also put on here iNaturalist, which I also think is fun. And it's also a learning tool, because I like using it for things, not only birds, but things like flowers, bugs, different kinds of plants and trees. Because what it does is it uses artificial intelligence to give you an idea of what you're looking at. And it's a great learning tool and a lot of fun if you want to learn more about nature. And you can use that in your garden or if you go somewhere else. They also have an app just for plants called Seek. And it's for the same reason, to have fun with it, and also you're actually participating in scientific studies. I put this on here for a magazine that you might want to check out online or in the paper version. And it has a lot of nice photos, and it talks about birds and gardens. So it's right up your alley and what you seem to be interested in. I put this beautiful photo of an Anna's hummingbird. And this is 95% of a hummingbird that you will see on the peninsula is an Anna's hummingbird. It's our resident hummingbird. And it has that gorget in the front, the males, that if the sunlight hits it just right, it just glows. And it is something that a lot of people, I have a brother that he only likes hummingbirds. He doesn't care about any other birds, but most people like hummingbirds the best. There are other types of hummingbirds that you'll find, and those can be Allen's hummingbird and Rufus hummingbird that have more brown on them. There's not so many of them. I found them in my garden in San Mateo once in a while, but mostly they're more often on the coast and only in certain seasons. Now, it is important for hummingbirds. They do like the color red in flowers, and they also like flowers that are more tubular. So if you really want to attract hummingbirds to your garden, plant a variety, a cluster of different kinds of red flowers, and the hummingbirds will come. This slide's titled Your Garden and Patch Birding. And what's a patch? A patch is what birders call a place that you go to frequently so that you get to know more intimately what kinds of birds are there during the year, and you can enjoy it a lot more because you're not just wandering around in different places. Your garden can be a patch, and also many other places like parks or beaches. My favorite patch that I go to every Monday to make Mondays more worthwhile, I go over to Coyote Point Marina. And I've gone there most Mondays this year, and I can see over time during the months how the birding changes and which ones are always there. It is something that I suggest that if you want to go and find different parks where birds are at, find one that you go to fairly frequently and make it your patch, because it makes it more interesting. It is also, there's extremes in birding. Since it's a free country, if you want to stay in your garden and bird, and that's all you want to do, you're free to do that. If you want to have patches, or you can go chase birds, or what they call twitching in the United Kingdom. And some people get so outlandish with this, they'll chase all over the state, or they'll chase all over the country looking for rare birds. And most people are not going to take it that far. Now there's one item, our website, sequoia-audubon.org. And I want you to be aware of that, because if you want to learn about birding, there's more than you'd ever want to know on that website. It does talk about politics, about conservation issues that we've been following. And if you want to become active in that, there's quite a bit on that. We also have several times a month free field trips that go to different places in the county that are very interesting. And the guides, they're very knowledgeable. They're all volunteers. They're very knowledgeable, and they're also very nice. I think that we have one of the friendliest local Audubon societies around. You can also learn about our monthly speaker program. And generally, depending on the speaker, if the speaker is remote from somewhere else in the country, we'll do that on Zoom. And that's the second Thursday of every month, starting next month. We take a couple months off in the summer. Also, we can have them if the speaker is local, like for September's meeting. We'll have it at the San Mateo Garden Center at Beresford Park. And that is something that's very worthwhile, because they'll talk about a variety of bird subjects, birding around the world, and some other natural subjects besides birds. And also, I want to highlight what's on the website, the San Mateo County Birding Guide, which is something that most Audubon societies have not created for their county. And it covers, you can see on that little map, there's 3 basic zones on the peninsula: the bayside, the hills, and the coast side. And it covers mostly parks, different beaches, and it tells you what kind of birds are there, when they're there, and ease of access to the place, accessibility. And it's just very glorious. You just click on the little knob there, and also there's a list of places to go. So San Mateo County has an extreme number of places to go birding. And unlike Santa Clara County, we have the ocean. So we're very proud of this. Now, Davina says, I have to say, this is a beautiful picture of a barn owl. And this is one of our resident owls in the county. If you see an owl in your garden, that's very lucky. It's much more likely after dark, if you can hear the owls, then you're lucky. I don't get to do that in my garden, but I think this is one of the most intriguing birds that we have in the county. Now, I want to thank you. If you have other groups that you want to have a presentation for, you can let me know. And if you want to get involved with the Audubon Society, like I said, our speaker meetings and our field trips, they're all free. You don't have to be a member, but you can become a member of the society for a very low cost. And Davina, did you have anything to say to end with?
Well, thanks for mentioning our monthly meeting on Thursday, September 8th. In fact, features our county, one of the most notable birders in the county, Alvaro Jaramillo, who's a noted biologist, a field guide, writer, author, leads field trips. He will be speaking at our monthly meeting, and he'll be talking all about the raptors of San Mateo County. So we invite you to join us. The doors open at 6:30. We'll have some outdoor refreshments with the program starting at 7 o'clock. And we're excited to be kicking off a new season of birding with Alvaro at the San Mateo Garden Center.
How exciting.
It'll be
How
great.
exciting.
So if there are any questions from the audience, we'll be happy to take them now.
I have a comment. I was just in Honolulu this week, and I saw this really beautiful bird with a red head. So I looked it up. It's called red-crested cardinal. It's beautiful. Just beautiful.
Well, they have the northern cardinal even in the Southwest across the rest of the US.
Mhm.
We aren't fortunate enough to get cardinals in our neighborhood. Unfortunately not in this part, but they are lovely. Claudio writes, Redwood City Parks is looking forward to Bluebird and Owlbox installation. Yes, Sequoia Audubon Society is working with the Union Cemetery Historical Association to install 2 barn owl boxes and Western Bluebird boxes. Claudia's with the city parks and recs and will be working with us on that. In fact, we are looking for more nest box monitors. You don't have to have any experience in birding or monitoring. We'll train you. We've got great resources available, and training we'll be doing a little later in the year so that people can get out the start of the new year and install Western Bluebird boxes on their trail and proceed to monitor them on a weekly basis during the breeding season. So there's more information on our website about that as well. So if you want to help out Union Cemetery in your backyard, we could use people there to help out. So I look forward to working with you on that, Claudia. Doug, here, Randall has a question. I have crows around our neighborhood. If I put up a bird feeder, will the crows eventually find it and take over?
Randall, I can only go by my experience. We have the usual number of crows in my neighborhood, which is in San Mateo by the bay, by Coyote Point. And they patrol the skies for hawks, which they'll go after mercilessly, but they have not come to my bird feeders. And I'm not sure why, but individual experiences may vary. But a lot of times there's enough places they can go, which are called dumpsters, that they would prefer that kind of food. So I wouldn't worry about that until it happens. And it is a problem. I understand that 40 years ago, I was not a birder on the peninsula, but there weren't very many crows around. They were more on the farms in the Central Valley. And because of dumpsters and all the food that we provide them, they kind of, I know by Oracle, there's a line of trees there that they roost in the hundreds. And some people don't appreciate them, but it is something that's attracted to us because we feed them.
I have several different types of feeders and I have crows nearby as well. And I have found the only thing that they will come and enjoy is the large bird bath. So you give it a try, Randall. Does anybody else have any other questions? If not, we'll say adieu. Our presentation on September 21st, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
will be strictly about plants, native plants to attract birds and pollinators for that matter to your garden, and we'll really dive into that subject matter. Claudia, what trees besides oaks do our native birds like? Oh my gosh. Claudia, I've got a lot of information for you about that. I'll have to pull out some resources at my fingertips. But our native trees, huckleberry provide fruit. Let me think about this.
And
Toyon, of course, provide berries. Trees specifically. Boy, you bring this question up again, and I'll have a whole list for you at the next presentation.
And
and
also I just
Pardon me,
wanted to say, on the peninsula, there's a lot of ornamental trees from all around the world. And they can adapt pretty well to a lot of those. Certain things like orioles really like tall palm trees. And so even palm trees, which are totally invasive, the birds can make use of certain ones. And there was a question also about how somebody can get a copy of the slides.
I put my email address in the chat just now. Davina@sequoia-audubon.org. And I'll be happy to email you a copy of this slide deck.
Great.
Yes, and Claudia, the native palm trees, the barn owls like as well. They will nest in our native palm trees, which was exciting. I had one nest across the street from me last summer in a couple of large palms, and that was great to see. We've got palms at Union Cemetery. We'll be putting those barn owl boxes nearby. Well, thank you all very much for joining us today. Thank you, Tina, Redwood City, Parks, Rec, Community Services, and Veterans Memorial Center. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Davina. Thank you,
All right.
Douglas.
We
Take care.
enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.